to INT 2253. This is construction equipment and materials. Today we have a dear guest, friend, and supporter of our program, Mr. Steve Wright. We call him the Wal-Mart guy. Wal-Mart. And some of you had the opportunity to write some questions for him. He will be kind enough to answer these. But if you have questions that come to your mind now, on the fly, you can ask him also. He's open to that. And without much ado, I'll give the microphone.
Thank you. Well, guys, one time I came over and there was one girl in the class, but I got 116 questions from you guys. A lot of them are, you have the same interests, but I thought I'll give you a little bit of my background. You're all upperclassmen, I guess. You know where Oakland, Illinois is? About 16 miles away. That's where I grew up. The point of me telling you that is, every class I tell you don't have to leave home to be a success. You don't have to go to Chicago, a big city, because that's a very small town over there. I attended school here for 2 years in the 60s when the only technical program they had for us was a pre-engineering. After that, I transferred to SIU, and my degree is civil engineering from Southern Illinois University. Dr. Wahby, he calls me the Wal-Mart guy, and that is a lot of what I do these days. My company is located in Sullivan, Illinois. It's called Colcon Corporation. We started out in, well, I was 33 years old. That was 30 years ago, so you can kind of figure my age. But just building anything, fire station or an addition to a warehouse. But over the years, it's sort of evolved into doing these big retail stores. Mostly I do Wal-Marts, but I have built some Home Depots, the one in Mattoon, for example. Done some Lowe's, home improvement centers. But that's the sort of work I do. Jobs you'd be familiar with is the Wal-Mart here in town. We built that. We built the old one that was on the west side. And my company now, we are about a $50 to $60 million a year company. So you don't have to leave home. We work within about 300 miles of Sullivan, which takes in basically all the states that border Illinois. Occasionally I've gone as far as Ohio, Kansas even, but mostly within 300 miles. To get to the technical, you have a lot of questions here about Wal-Mart's size and cost, and in size they vary. Small town will get one that's 100,000 square feet. Mostly everything now is supercenters, which have the groceries. And they ran all the way up to about 230,000 square feet, a 5-acre building. The cost on them, complete, including the site work, these days it runs anywhere for a small one around $10 million to a large one about 14. If you ever get any unusual site conditions, they can be a little higher. Occasionally they'll pick a site that's all rock, so we have to do blasting, things like that. That gets pretty expensive. Had some questions about the site work. Basically, the site part of those is somewhere upwards of 20 acres. And there was a question or two about how do we handle drainage, things like that. Of course, these days, anything big has a detention pond, which is capable of containing the runoff off the parking lot in the building, and then allowing it to drain off no faster than it did when it was just dirt and it was soaking into the ground. That's the kind of the universal criteria for drainage off of a paved surface. So these ponds can sometimes be 3 or 4 acre ponds, 8 feet deep. But they're very environmentally conscious company. Of course, they've sort of been forced into that by the EPA. They got a huge fine several years ago. But basically, Wal-Marts are structural steel frame, columns, beams, and bar joists. Usually have a steel roof deck on them, and most of the time now a rubber roof itself. The walls are various kinds of masonry units. They sort of changed. Maybe every 3 or 4 years they'll put a different finish on it. Currently they're using a thing called quick bricks, which is really just a concrete block that's, the mold makes it look like large bricks, but that's your wall system. Wal-Mart does not use tilt-up, precast, that sort of stuff. I've done that kind of work. Home Depots do use precast where it's hauled in on a truck and set up by cranes. We don't. We do not cast them on the slab and stand them up, which is another method. Are you asking a question?
Which do you like better, the precast or the block?
Well, the precast generally faster, but see, I build these. I don't design them. So Wal-Mart says blocks, and we lay blocks. You know, so, but the precast, it takes more preparation to get ready for it, and you have to be very, very exact. Where with masonry, you know, if your foundation's off a 1/4 inch, you can make up for it in the joints. If it's off with precast, you're kind of stuck with it. But beginning to end, I think precast is faster because you're getting 8 feet by 24 feet at a time. But it does take, it's more expensive equipment sensitive because you got to have huge cranes to lift those things. So it's probably a toss-up. It's more expensive, quite a lot more expensive.
Precast.
Yes. Even though you would think the other's labor intensive, but because you know Michelangelo was laying bricks, so you know, but it's generally like that, a trade-off. Some of the architectural precast is, you know, pretty nice looking stuff. So, and then Lowe's, who's the other big company we work for, they use block as well. Mostly it's always decorative block now on probably the front and the 2 sides. The backs are usually pretty plain. Let's see, I kind of went through the steel with you. There were some questions about foundation size and things like that. Of course, by now you guys have learned it. I mean, it's all a function of soil bearing pressure in the location where you are. You get in something with 1,000, 1,200 pound per square foot soil bearing pressure, then they're going to be huge. Occasionally we've actually built them on sort of mucky property. Now that becomes very expensive because you have to treat it as if it were an elevated structure. Drive piling, then when you pour the floor, there are beams cast right in there and you count on nothing from the soil.